Bertemu kembali dalam Buletin Awani. Kenaikan harga barang ketika ini antaranya berpunca daripada fenomena inflasi yang melanda
dunia. Bagi mengawal inflasi daripada terus melonjak, yang sekaligus akan memberi kesan kepada kuasa
kita juga perlu memastikan inflasi itu sendiri terkawal.
Hi everyone, we are Group F3. We are excited to present our video titled The Impact of Inflation in Malaysia on the Food and Beverages Sector, 2014 to 2024. In this video, we will cover the background of food and beverage inflation, a detailed data analysis on inflation trends, and an overview of government policies related to inflation in the food and beverage sector. Thank you, and we hope you enjoy our presentation.
According to this table in the figure, the food inflation rate remained stable from 2014 to 2019, for shipped in 2020, rising repeatedly from 2020 to 2022, and finally decreased and stabilized in 2023. There are many national and foreign factors affecting food inflation in Malaysia, as well as international factors such as COVID-19 conflict between Russia and Ukraine and extreme weather change. Domestic factors are rising product cost and labor shortage. Inflation in Malaysia remained at a low level until 2014, but extreme weather, rising product cost, and change in international demand have also caused a bigger change in food inflation.
Food inflation refers to the increase in the prices of food products over time. It is a subset of overall inflation that focuses specifically on changes in the cost of food items such as grains, vegetables, fruits, meats, dairy, and processed food. Food inflation is typically measured using indices like the Consumer Price Index, where the price of weight average market basket of consumer goods and services purchased by the households. As food price rise, the consumer will face challenges in affording basic staples, leading to changes in consumer behavior. There are several factors contribute to food inflation. It's including the supply chain disruption that caused by events like natural disasters and also political instability. Rising production costs such as higher fuel and labor expenses will also drive prices up. Demand fluctuation, often linked to population growth or changing consumer habits, further intensify the pressure of food prices. The effect of food inflation are far-reaching. On the consumer level, families are forced to spend more of their income on food, leading to reduced purchasing power and changes in their consumption patterns. Food inflation will also significantly impact the business, especially in the food industry. They will struggle with the increased input costs, where the rising prices for food staples like grains, dairy, meat, and vegetable increase the cost of producing food and beverages. Shrinking profit margins, the price-sensitive customer may reduce spending or option for cheaper alternatives and affecting revenue. Pricing strategies through a menu adjustment, restaurants and cafes may need to raise menu prices but raise alienating the customers. Changes in consumer behavior, where the customers prioritize deals, discounts, or promotion when choosing F&B products. And lastly, supply chain challenges increase the freight costs, where the transportation expense rise with inflation, impacting the cost of moving goods. This creates an unequal burden disproportionately impacting the lower-income households. As a solution, the governments around the world implement the various strategies to mitigate the effects of food inflation, and this can include offering subsidies to both producers and consumers, controlling food prices, and regulating imports and exports. In the long term, policies focused on improving agricultural productivity and stabilizing the global supply chain are crucial in addressing the root causes of food inflation.
This highlights inflation trends across different periods of the year and the factors that influence them. Inflation can fluctuate due to seasonal events such as festive periods or harvest seasons, impacting food supply and demand. Global market conditions, including oil prices and exchange rates, also play a significant role. For example, a weaker ringgit can increase import costs, while global energy prices directly affect transportation and production expenses. Understanding these factors provides valuable insights into price stability, helping policymakers and businesses make informed decisions. In 2014, Malaysia experienced a moderate inflation rate of 2.4%. The food and beverage sector showed slower price increases compared to 2013 due to stable supply and reduced costs for fresh food. The overall inflation rate averaged 2.8% for the year, supported by lower global energy prices and steady domestic supply chains. Government policies focused on stabilizing the economy, which help mitigate inflationary pressures. However, despite the moderation, certain sectors such as fresh food still face challenges linked to seasonal and external factors. In 2015, inflation rose to 4.6%, marking a significant increase compared to 2014. Food and beverage prices grew at a faster rate, driven by global economic conditions, supply chain disruptions, and new policies such as higher excise duties on tobacco products. These changes affected household spending power and contributed to inflationary inflationary pressures. Despite these challenges, strong domestic demand and government measures, including subsidies and price stabilization efforts, help maintain economic resilience. Monitoring inflation trends remain a priority to balance economic growth and consumer needs. In 2016, the inflation rate for Malaysia's food and beverage sector was recorded at 3.4%, a noticeable decrease from 4.6% in 2015. This lower rate of price increase indicates a moderation in inflationary pressures. The lower inflation was attributed to stable domestic demand, even though global economic uncertainties and fluctuating commodity prices persisted. Data from the DOSM showed that while prices were rising, they were doing so at a slower pace compared to previous years. Overall, the food and beverage sector experienced less volatility, reflecting a relatively stable economic environment. In 2017, the inflation rate for food and beverages climbed to 4.1%, up from 3.4% in the previous year. This rise was driven by higher global commodity prices and adverse weather conditions that impacted food production and supply. The overall headline inflation rate moderated to 3.5% in the fourth quarter, slightly lower than 3.6% in Q3. Core inflation, which excludes the more volatile components like fresh food and energy, was at 2.3%, showing a more stable underlying inflation trend. The Malaysian economy grew robustly in 2017 with a growth rate of 5.9%, supported by strong domestic demand and increased private sector spending. Despite the higher inflation in the food sector, the broader economic context remained positive, indicating a resilient economy. In 2018, the inflation rate for food and beverages saw a sharp decline to 0.7%, significantly lower than the 4.1% recorded in 2017. This dramatic drop was largely influenced by policy changes, including the zero rating of the Goods and Services Tax (GST) and the subsequent reintroduction of the Sales and Services Tax, which is SST. These changes helped reduce the overall price pressures across various sectors, including food and beverages. The general trend in inflation showed a decline, with the average headline inflation rate falling to 0.0%, the lowest since 2009. In the food and beverage sector, prices were largely stable, though there were occasional spikes in certain items. Consumers benefited from lower transport costs and stable food prices, reflecting a more controlled inflation environment. Headline inflation averaged 0.7%, a decline from 1.0% in 2018. This drop was mainly due to policy measures such as the removal of the Sales and Service Tax or SST and the stabilization of domestic fuel prices. Core inflation, which excludes volatile items, remained steady at 1.4%. This indicates subdued demand pressures in the economy during that period. When we look specifically at the food and beverage sector, it contributed significantly to inflation. Prices of food items rose due to external factors like currency fluctuations, which increased import costs, and supply-side issues such as bad weather and tighter production conditions, particularly for agricultural products. At the same time, steady growth in household income and consumption supported demand, which helped maintain some balance. Inflation trends were driven by both supply-side factors such as weather and production, and demand-side factors including household spending and income growth. This dynamics reflects the complexity of inflation in the food and beverage sector during that time.
From the Department of Statistics Malaysia website, we can see the inflation rate at December 2018 is 1.7%. However, to find exact data regarding what happened is quite challenging because it is an old data. CPI for food and beverage is increased from 0.7% in 2015 to 1.7% in 2018. It means that the rate of price increase but not that fast. Price is rising and actually more quick as they were in 2018. From the BNM fourth quarter bulletin in 2019, first, overall inflation trends in 2019. Headline inflation averaged 0.7% in 2019, a decline from 1% in 2018. The reduction was driven by policy measures such as the warning impacting of the sales and service tax and stable domestic fuel price. Core inflation, which excludes volatile items, remains steady at 1.4%, indicating subdued demand pressure in the economy. Second, food and beverage sector-specific inflation. The food and non-alcoholic beverage category continued to contribute significantly to overall inflation. Despite a general decline in inflation, certain food items experienced pricing pressure due to currency fluctuation, which impact the cost of important goods. The moderate growth in private sector which influenced consumer spending on food and beverage. Third, drivers of sectoral inflation. Supply-side factors like global commodity price and domestic agricultural production were key drivers. For example, adverse weather conditions negatively affected crop yields, causing price fluctuation for essential food items. On the demand side, steady growth in household consumption, supported by positive income and employment trends, help maintain demand for food and beverage products. From Department of Statistics Malaysia website, you can see the inflation rate at December 2020 is 1.4%. Food and beverage inflation in Malaysia in 2020 was significantly influenced by the COVID-19 pandemic, which disturbed global and domestic economic system. Below are the key factors that contribute to the inflation trends during that year. First, supply chain disruption. The COVID-19 pandemic caused widespread supply chain disruption globally. However, reduced consumer demand during lockdown and movement control order offset the potential rise in food price. Restricted mobility limited dining out, leading to a decrease in food consumption and thus stabilizing price. Second, government stabilization efforts. The Malaysia government implement various measures to stabilize food price. This includes setting price ceiling for essential goods, monitoring the supply of staples like rice, sugar, and cooking oil, and subsidizing agricultural sector to ensure adequate supply. Third, increasing unemployment rate. Many households reduced discretionary spending due to job losses and income uncertainty, which tempered upward pressure on price and reduced consumer spending power. From the Department of Statistics Malaysia website, you can see the inflation rate in December 2021 is 3.2%. The primary contributor to this increase was the rise in the price of oils and fats, which is 3.3% decline. Other significant contributors include meat 3.2%, seafood 3.1%, and milk, cheese and egg 2.3%. Additionally, the price of vegetables rose by 2.1%. Below are the key factors that contribute to the inflation trends during the year. First, increased demand for essential goods. People need to stock up on staple foods and beverage during the pandemic. Panic buying and change in consumption patterns drove up price for items like cooking oil, rice, meat, and eggs. Second, heavy rain-driven food supply shortage led to the CPI in December 2021 is increased and caused the increase in price of vegetable and seafood. From the Department of Statistics Malaysia website, we can see the inflation rate increase at December 2022 is 6.8%. Food and beverage inflation in Malaysia in 2022 is continuous expansion. Several factors contribute to this sustained price increase. First, global supply chain disruption. The COVID-19 pandemic caused delays and increased costs in the transportation of goods. This disruption significantly raised the price of food and beverage items. Second, adverse weather conditions. Uncertain weather reduced the supply of certain food items such as vegetables, leading to higher price due to the uncertainty in agricultural production. Third, government policies and subsidies. Adjustment to government subsidies and price control mechanism further influenced by the pricing of essential food and beverage products. 4. Currency depreciation. The exchange rate in ringgit 4.41 per USD compared to the ended 2021 at RM 4.17 per USD. Therefore, the import food and beverage becoming expensive. From Department of Statistics Malaysia website, we can see the inflation rate decreased until 2.3% at December 2023. After two consecutive years of expansion rate, global food and beverage price deflated by 13.7% in 2023. First, decline global supply chains. Improved logistic and transportation efficiency reduced the cost pressure on important goods, including food and beverage. Second, government intervention. The government implement measures to manage inflation, such as targeted subsidies and price control on food and beverage. This can help stabilize price and reduce inventory pressure in this sector. The inflation rate recorded as 2.3% at October 2024. Food and beverage inflation in Malaysia demonstrates a stabilizing trend compared to previous years, attributed to several key factors. By September 2024, the inflation rate for the food and beverage category was recorded at 1.6, mirroring the rate from August 2024. Key reasons for this moderating include: first, government policy and subsidies. The Malaysia government has taken steps to control the price of essential goods, such as setting selling price on basic food items and providing subsidies for cooking oil and rice. Continuation or expansion of targeted subsidy programs, such as for low-income households, has ensured affordability for basic food items, limiting price spikes in the broader market. Second, improving supply chain efficiency. Global supply chains have recovered significantly since the disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. This recovery has reduced bottleneck in the movement of food products and agricultural commodities, resulting in steadier supply and less volatility in price.
Now, let's move on to related government policies. The first related government policies is price control mechanism. The government has historically implemented price controls on essential food items to protect consumers from price hikes. Next is about importation and tariff adjustments. To ensure that local shortage do not push price up, Malaysia can adjust import tariff or quotas on essential food items such as wheat, rice, and dairy products. Next is price monitoring and transparency. Government agencies regularly monitor food price and publish data on price trends, providing transparency for both consumers and business. Next is emergency measures during crisis. The government implements emergency measures such as direct cash transfers, food assistance programs, and the release of food reserve to stabilize prices and ensure the population can access affordable foods. Furthermore is import contracts. Import contracts play an important role in controlling rising costs and stabilizing prices. To reduce food inflation, government locks in long-term contracts for import of several staple foods. Next is supporting domestic production. Domestic production is not reliance on imports that can contribute to inflation. Not only that, Malaysia also imports a large part of food, like wheat. Lastly is public awareness and consumption. Imports that exceed exports will cause negative national income and will contribute to inflation. It is necessary to have knowledge about this to ensure the price is in a good condition and stable. Therefore, government take an action to educate people to lessen their dependence on pricey imports and help distribute demand more. That's all from our group. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.